Now you can get the best regional sports coverage with Metro Sports on Time Warner Cable Channel 232. With Metro Sports, you'll get Husker sports from volleyball to basketball. Also, coverage of the Big 12 teams and their games. Metro Sports will bring you the latest from Royal Spring Training and all the off-season moves the Chiefs make. From seasoned pros like Dave Stewart and Leif Lysick, watch Metro Sports only on Time Warner Cable Channel 232.
Right around the corner, the Huskers held their first press conference of the season. And here with me is Mike Babcock from Huskers Illustrated. And one of the main topics today was the coaching changes and all of that. And kind of hearing what Bo had to say, he seems very excited.
Yeah, Katie, I think that, the key probably is that the media hasn't had access to Bo basically since the Holiday Bowl, or actually, I guess, letter of intent signing day was the last time anybody talked to Bo. And so people hadn't had an opportunity to really ask him about the hiring of the coaches or the change in the staff, the way that was put together. So obviously that was a big topic. Everybody wanted to know about the new coaches and how that was going to impact the program.
And talking specifically about Tim Beck, I mean, that's a huge change. Offensive coordinator that does a lot for the Huskers, and we were able to hear from him today. Yeah,
and it gives it a little symmetry now because we've got a head coach from Youngstown, Ohio. We've got a defensive coordinator from Youngstown, Ohio. We've got an offensive coordinator from Youngstown, Ohio, all Cardinal Mooney coaches. So, I think that Tim Beck has distinguished himself as a running backs coach. Players are familiar with him, and I think that they feel like in moving into the Big Ten, the sort of approach that he's going to have is going to be a benefit to the program.
And listening to some of the offensive players, they seemed excited about this change and having Tim and what he's going to be able to do for the offense this year.
Yeah, and the key, I don't know how many times we've heard it, but the key is simplify, right? The offense is going to simplify. The approach is going to be to attack. The approach is going to be to have a physical offense, and certainly that's the way he coached his running backs, and that's the element that I think he's going to bring to the offense in general.
And talking about simplifying and attacking and all that, Bo said he has a plan in mind, and you kind of heard that from Tim. What do you think this plan is as far as when they go out there and play these Big Ten defenses?
Well, the word simplify keeps coming up, and it's the way that Nebraska approached defensively, with Bo and Carl Pelini. The defense has been simplify, have the players know what the concepts are, and then be able to react. And I think that's the same thing that, and in fact, Bo said that, on offense, we wanted to mirror what we do defensively, and that is, again, simplification, but be multiple. And have the players understand not only what they do, but why they do it.
And talking about the defense, we heard from Carl today, and he talked about some of the returning players, Crick and Denard and David, and kind of talk a little bit about that and what he was saying about them stepping up and being leaders this year.
Well, one of the things that, and I think probably coaches will say this every year, but somebody asked Carl Pelini if he thought this might be the best defense he's had in his fourth year here in Nebraska, and he said, yeah, he thought it would be. Part of that was because he felt like they would have depth. And there are going to be a lot of young players coming in and playing significant roles, I think, on this defense. But you have a core. He said they had leadership at all three levels. That up front they have leadership. Jared Crick is an experienced guy. They got leadership at linebacker. They got leadership in the secondary. And so that's really important, I think, to bring the young guys along, to have the competition that you need to have to develop the kind of depth that you need to have to go into the Big Ten.
And talking a little bit about spring football in general, what do we expect to see this year?
Well, I think I expect to see, with Bo Pelini again, going into his fourth year, spring has always been a time for competition, that nobody has a job. That's what they try to emphasize. You have to compete for your job. I think the most successful seasons that Nebraska's had, that's had that competition, that nobody is secure in their position. That's the first and foremost thing, I think, is emphasis on competition among players. And then again, back as we started talking about offense, how's this offense going to evolve from what it was a year ago?
And with the offense in spring, this is their time to kind of come out and try it out. And, they said a lot, not just simplifying, but a lot with the verbiage and kind of cutting back on that.
Yeah, and I think one of the words they used was deprogram. The guys are going to have to be deprogrammed a little bit because of what they learned. Brandon Kinney said that, it's not that big of a deal, that the players have been around, that have some experience in the system. Maybe they'll have to unlearn some things, but for the young guys coming in. It's a new system for them. It's a new opportunity for them. So I think that that's probably one of the emphases, though, is just learning what to do on offense.
And we talked a little bit about injuries and who's going to be out for the spring.
Yeah, and it sounds like a fairly good situation going into spring. Cameron Meredith won't be participating in spring, defensive end, also offensive lineman Jeremiah Searles. But in general, it seems like in good health, and that's always a positive. You want to come out of spring in good health as well.
Absolutely, and I just felt like the press conference as a whole, they just seemed really excited. With going to the Big Ten, it just seemed like this is the time to have all these coaching changes and have these kind of coaches that can, be versatile and change positions like that.
Well, yeah, there's a lot of enthusiasm. I think every spring there's a lot of enthusiasm because you have an opportunity to coach, and and it's a learning experience. And these guys are teachers, and so you have that opportunity. You add to the fact that Nebraska's going into the Big Ten. That's a whole different thing, and the unknown there's an excitement involved in that. And in college football, obviously, guys move on. New guys step in, there's always that kind of enthusiasm among young guys. So I think it's fairly typical. You add on to the fact that, again, we haven't talked to Bo, haven't had an opportunity to really talk to him. There's just it's kind of a liberating feeling, I guess, the opportunity to do that.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Mike, for being with us. And for Time Warner Cable's Nebraska On Demand, I'm Katie Falco.